Hey everyone, and welcome to the Private Podcast, where we plug in and explore the intersection of privacy, human rights, technology, and democracy. I'm your host, Derek E. Silva. Today, joining me on the Private Podcast is Brandon Liebowitz, the founder of SEO Optimizers. SEO Optimizers is a full-service digital marketing agency specializing in search engine optimization, website design, social media, and paid advertising. And now, over to the conversation with Brandon Liebowitz. All right. And as I said off the top, we have Brandon Liebowitz from SEO Optimizers. Brandon, thanks for spending some time with us here today on the private podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.
Good stuff. So let's start with the basics. Can you tell us a little bit about SEO Optimizers, what it is, what you guys do?
Yeah, we're help people get more traffic to their website using search engine optimization, which means ranking websites on Google or other search engines, but trying to get you that free traffic. So try to tap into that free traffic that's offered. So when people search for your keywords, you appear on the search results, and hopefully people click on your website and then help out to get that traffic to convert, because getting traffic is really just half the battle. Once you get that traffic, how do we optimize that website to convert traffic into leads?
Okay, cool. And you mentioned Google off the top, obviously still the 800-pound gorilla in search. More so in some countries than others. Like in the US and Canada, they have a dominant position, but not as dominant as they are, I think, in continents like Europe. A lot of European countries, I think Google has like 80 something percent market share. What about Duckduckgo? Newer ones like Brave Search, or even what's the other one? Pre-search, which are going for even more privacy preserving approaches. Like, do those ever come up in discussion these days, or is Google still the focus?
No, they'll bring in some traffic, but well, it's more of knowing who your audience is
Mm-hmm.
and what search engine they're on. Most people are going to probably be on Google, but I always tell people check Google Analytics or other tracking tools to see really where your traffic's coming from. But me, well, I've been doing this since 2007, so for the past 15 years, been looking at tracking or analytics and data for hundreds, maybe thousands of websites, and Google brings in about 20 to maybe 80% of the traffic. Bing will bring maybe 1%. Yahoo might bring in 1%.
Yeah.
DuckDuckGo might bring in half, and all the other ones. Then the rest is going to come from like email marketing or social media or paid ads or people just typing your website in directly. But the majority of the search traffic really does come from Google. And I haven't really seen that change too much. I have seen like DuckDuckGo and Brave and the other ones start creeping up, but they're still not really breaking through that much. But it does help out. Like if you're getting 1,000 people to your website every single day, then 1% is not a bad number. But if you're only getting 5 people to your website a day, then that 1% doesn't really have that big of an impact. So it just also depends on where your stats are at. Because I work with some big sites and I'll see they're getting tens of thousands of visitors from Bing. They're getting hundreds of thousands from Google, but they're getting
Right.
a few thousand from Bing and they're getting conversions, leads. So it does work, but it's just really knowing who your audience is and where that traffic's coming from. But for the most part, as long as you optimize for Google, you're going to be good for the other search engines, because Yahoo is not really Yahoo. It's actually powered by Bing. So if you
Right.
want to optimize for Google and then you optimize for Bing, you're covering the big three search engines. But Google's algorithm is a lot more sophisticated than Bing. So if you really just optimize for Google, you should be good across the board.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question next. So that's great. You anticipated that. And like you said, it also depends on a little bit on geography, your industry, your target market. Like somebody like me, I use DuckDuckGo or pre-search depending on the device and the browser as my default. But like you said, most people, whether Google is paying somebody to be the primary, like they do on, well, obviously they're the primary search engine on Android devices. They pay Apple a hefty sum per year to be the default on iOS devices and possibly macOS, iOS for sure, at least in a lot of geographies. But it does vary from, I guess, industry to industry, or even target persona, if you wanna use that term, right?
Yep, yep. And location, like you said, like some countries don't have access to Google. So then you got to use
Mm-hmm.
whatever country specific one, but then those are also going to be different and
Yeah.
highly restricted. But yeah, you just gotta know who your audience is. Where are they? What search engines are they using? That's why I always recommend double checking analytics, because just because I've seen Google bring in the majority of the traffic over the years doesn't mean that's going to be true for your business. Every website's different, but I would say 99% of the time, Google is going to bring the majority of the traffic.
Okay, cool, fair enough. So, what inspired you to get into this industry to start your own company?
Well, I just kind of fell into it. Wasn't really planning on doing digital marketing. Got my degree in business marketing, and the first job I got out of school was helping out a company with their digital marketing in 2007. I didn't really know much about it. They didn't know much about it either. They said we're going to take you to classes and workshops and let you learn alongside with us. And after doing that for a few months, I just realized everyone's probably got a website. SEO is a way to get free traffic, and let's focus on the way to get free traffic. Plus, I realized that I could also pick up freelance clients. So I always had the entrepreneurial spirit where I just want to be my own boss or have my own company,
Hmm.
and just realized that I could go to like a restaurant or go to like a mechanic or a doctor or whoever local businesses are around me and just tell them, hey, do you want to be at the top of Google? I can help out with SEO and would pick up clients here and there and eventually built it up to where I was able to quit my job and focus solely on this.
Nice, good for you. Um, you covered a couple of the reasons why what's important. You know, you mentioned free traffic a few times. Like, can you elaborate a little bit more on why it's so important to optimize your website, and increasingly other things, which we could probably get into, like Google My Business Listings, even voice search. I know is a hot topic right now. But like, why it's so important to do SEO, to do search engine optimization.
Yep, because if you're not doing SEO, your competitors are, or someone is, because people are searching on Google, or people are searching online nowadays. Most people have cell phones, which connects people. Before, you needed a desktop computer, a laptop, had a high barrier of entry, whereas now they're just kind of throwing iPhone 4s away, so almost anyone can connect to online, and that just means that everyone is really connected nowadays, and people are going to be searching or browsing through different websites. And if you're not up there in the search results, your competitors are, or someone else is going to be there. So it's just really trying to capture that free traffic or just capture that traffic, whether it's doing SEO or you can run paid ads, you can pay for that traffic. But I'd rather get up there for free and just try to hone in on that free traffic because the paid ads, they work. It's just every time someone clicks on your website, you have to pay Google. It could be a couple dollars, it could be $50 per click, $100 per click. It gets pretty expensive really quickly.
And so, what does that actually entail for you? And how much of that, service stack offering does SEO optimizers offer? Like, I guess you could be targeting specific keywords, or trying to answer entire questions these days. Google especially, and I think maybe Bing as well. Like, you search and like the answer can actually show up on in Google search results without even heading to a web page. Like, are you offering that sort of thing as well?
Well, that's called the featured snippet, and that's through adding schema, which is a coding language that Google, Bing, and Yahoo, all the search engines made this. I think it was like 10 years ago. And it's
Hmm.
just a way to enhance your listing. So you put all these different data sets or things on your website. Google will read it all, but you put schema, then that tells Google really focus in on this. So like if you type into Google like score for a hockey game, you'll see the live score is right there. That's pulled from schema on the website. So if
Okay.
you add schema code to your website, it doesn't have to be for scores. It could be for recipes. It could be for sporting events. It could be for a bunch of things, reviews, the featured snippet, like you were saying, that little box that appears. But yeah, you definitely want to take up as much free real estate as possible on that first page of Google. That's the main thing. Well, taking up as much free real estate. So try to get featured snippets, trying to get your website listed. There's images that appear in Google now, so optimizing your images, videos appear. So if you have any videos, optimizing those videos. If you're a local business, a map will appear, so trying to get you in that map. If you're selling products, then products might appear in there, so optimizing your product pages so they hopefully show up in there as well, and just really trying to tap into all those different free real estate opportunities that Google is willing to give out.
Okay, cool. And SEO optimizers, you guys help with all of that, like whether it's focusing on specific keywords, phrases, the schema, Google My Business Listings, all that.
Yeah, anything with organic, trying to get that free traffic. Yep. And keywords, yep. Keywords are very important. You got to focus on finding the right keywords and whether a keyword is one or two words, or it could be a whole sentence could be a keyword. It's not. So whatever people are searching into Google, that is your keyword. I think nowadays half of the searches are new searches that Google's never seen. So it's tough to really optimize for all the keywords. You just really want to optimize for the big set of keywords or the more broad kind of general topics, and then you pick up on synonyms, plurals, industry jargon, slang terms, all those other
Mhm.
ones, but really want to focus on the more important ones and then just have it kind of trickle down because Google's able to pick up on different keywords without you even really having to put them on the website just because they understand the human language, the semantic web,
Right.
and all these other things that they're pulling in, artificial intelligence. So you don't necessarily need keywords. You still should put them in there, but I see websites that rank without having the keywords I'm searching on it at all on that website, just because Google knows the intent behind that search, your geolocation, your past search history, and all these other data
Right.
points that they use to try to put out more personalized results and try to predict what you're going to search.
Okay, cool. Uh, what industries do you think, or have you seen, actually benefit the most from the time? And like, I think we shouldn't portray this as like an overnight thing. Like, I know this is a lot of time and effort that goes into, uh, really achieving some results, right? Especially if you're building new content or spending a couple of days potentially putting all that schema code around the website. But once you've actually put in the work, like what have you seen from different industries that actually benefit the most from SEO, if there is one in particular or a few?
I'm not sure if there's one specific industry that would benefit most. As long as people are searching online for your product or service, you're going to be benefiting from it. But if people aren't searching or don't know about your product or service, if it's like something new that no one searched of or heard of before or thought about, then that's going to be tough for SEO because you need people searching for you. If people aren't searching for you, then it's not going to work. But if people know about your product or service, then it's definitely works. It's just looking at how much search traffic it gets per keyword. So using different tools to see how many people search for that keyword every single month, and the keyword gets a lot more searches than another one, then it's going to work a lot better versus getting less search volume. So the more search volume, the better it's probably going to work for you because it's just more people are online looking for those keywords.
Cool. And there was an old adage, probably right around the time you started SEO optimizers or got into this, about content being king. You just mentioned how Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, etc., will just look for keyword, like look for words on your website and potentially rank your website and other data just based on what they find versus what you're optimizing for. Is content marketing or the rest of the body of a website or a web page, is that really still super important these days, or do you really need to like put in the effort specifically to get ranked, show up in results, etc.?
No, you need to optimize the website. Like you said, putting keywords in different places on the website, very important. Adding content with keywords. Yeah, it's kind of still the same practices over the years. It's just now Google wants quality content, making sure you put quality in there, not spamming them, not just throwing keywords everywhere, just to throw them everywhere. Just more of writing for people versus writing for Google, which a lot of people usually write for Google and not write for people, which is not what they want you to do. And just make
Right.
sure you provide a good user experience, provide value.
Okay, so like how does this work then for, I mean, like there are websites online who are literally just producing, fake information. We've heard stories before of like Macedonian content farms making like fake local news websites and stuff like that. Like, do they benefit from SEO at all? Or are they just kings of SEO and that's how that information gets spread around, or are they, sharing that in other ways?
Well, I feel like usually they're sharing it on social media because SEO does take about 6 months to rank a website. So sometimes it'll be quicker. So if they're putting out newsworthy content, sometimes it'll be ranked right away, but it doesn't always rank right away. It takes time and it doesn't always spread like social. It's pretty easy to spread news and share things out or articles or whatever it is. And it's a lot easier
Right.
to get something to go viral, a lot quicker.
Okay. And then like, do you have any knowledge of like how the search engines in general look at satirical websites like the Onion? We have a Canadian version or a Canadian organization called the Beaverton that also has a satirical website. Like, do they rank that at all, or are those sorts of intentionally satirical, funny websites, like are they, primarily focused on getting spread through social media as well?
Yeah, I think Google would rank them. I don't see why they wouldn't rank it because they'll put anything out there as long as you put the right keywords in the right places and you're targeting them and you're doing a better job of SEO than your competitors, then I wouldn't see why they wouldn't rank it. But if it's putting out fake misinformation, then maybe they would suppress it. But how would they know what's real and what's not real? Because it's just subjective. So it's kind of tricky.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Um, what sort of trends are you seeing right now in SEO and digital marketing? I think voice search is up there in terms of one of the things companies, organizations are trying to hit most. Do I have that right, or that there are other things that they're focused on?
Yeah, I mean, everything is shifted towards mobile. And with mobile devices, it's different searching. You're not just typing in. I mean, you could still type into your cell phone, like restaurant near me, but if you have your cell phone, you just speak into it and say, where can I find a restaurant near me? It's a whole different type of search. It's actually
Yeah.
sentences. Google will try to understand the human language, phrases, and the semantic web and all that stuff. And so it's now not just trying to rank for keywords, but trying to rank for what you think people will be searching for, which half the searches nowadays are new searches, so it's tough to predict that. But you could try to just look for more
Hmm.
common popular
Oh,
phrases or questions that people ask, incorporate that onto your own website, because it all comes down to if you have that question that someone's asking, if you have that on your website with an answer, Google's going to look at that. If you don't have that question, Google's not going to rank you because there's no relevancy. It wouldn't make sense. But if you have that
okay.
question on your website with an answer, that increases your chances of showing up for a voice search, that featured snippet that you were talking about earlier, where it's a schema box that appears there. Also, this people also ask section in Google has a lot of questions and answers. When you search on Google, it'll say people also ask these questions, which are related questions to those keywords. So if you're trying to figure out what phrases to use, just go into Google, search for your keywords, scroll down, and you'll see that people also ask section. Those are all high search volume questions that people ask all the time related to your keywords. So if you incorporate those onto your website, those questions verbatim, and then you answer them in your own unique perspective, that's going to increase the chances of you showing up there. And then you can mark it up with schema, which is schema.org. It's a coding language. It's a little tricky. It's kind of technical. Don't want
Hmm.
to get too deep into that, but if you can figure out how to do that or hire a web developer to incorporate that, that will just really increase those chances of Google pulling that in to voice search, to the featured snippet, to that people also ask section, and just ranking you higher in the search results.
Yeah, I've actually done a little bit of schema work, like identifying phone numbers, like customer service phone numbers, address, stuff like that for businesses where, that matters, like a restaurant you mentioned earlier. Clearly, you want people to know your physical address because you're hoping they're going to come.
Yep.
At least most of the time. Maybe, the last 2 years kind of threw that for a loop, and a lot of people were relying on delivery services more, but I think even within those delivery services, you have to do similar things where, like, if you're a Chinese restaurant, you want to make sure that your restaurant shows up if somebody types in Chinese food or something like that within DoorDash, Uber Eats, etc. Um, sorry, I need to pull back a little bit. I forgot to ask about negative SEO, Black Hat SEO. Can you explain a little bit of what that is and what, I guess, malicious people, people who employ it, what they're trying to accomplish usually?
Yeah, like people might hack into your website, add all this extra content to your pages, or do all these kind of shady things out
Mm,
there. So you just gotta be on top of your website, monitoring it through Google Search Console. It's a free tool from Google that will show you if there's any errors or any weird things popping up. If you've been penalized from Google, they'll show it in there sometimes, not all the time, but it might appear in there. And it's just try to stay up to date with all that stuff, seeing what's going on to your website, if there's been any malicious attacks, anybody doing any spam. I mean, a big part of SEO is backlinks, getting other websites to talk about you. The more clickable links or
right.
backlinks that point to your website, the higher you're going to rank. So if you're reading an article on the New York Times and in there it says Brandon Liebowitz and you click on it and it goes to my website, I'd be getting a backlink from the New York Times. The more websites that link to me, the higher I'm going to rank. But it used to just be a numbers game. Like if I have 100 backlinks, you have 200 backlinks, you would rank higher than me. But Google said a few years ago, back in 2011, that it's not the number of backlinks, it's the number of quality backlinks. So if you have 100 quality backlinks and I have 10,000 low quality, it doesn't matter. You're going to rank higher than me because you have quality backlinks. So a lot of people realize I could just spam you and go onto sites like Fiverr and buy 10,000 backlinks for $5, point them to your website from pharmaceutical
Yeah.
sites, and that will negatively impact you. But Google has seen that, so Google has the Google Disavow tool, which will let you say, ignore these backlinks. These aren't mine. I didn't build them, and
Hmm.
it'll help with that because unfortunately anyone could just build backlinks to anyone's website. I could build backlinks to Google, to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter, to YouTube. I could build backlinks to any website. Nobody could stop you from building backlinks, but you could stop Google from counting them with the disavow tool. And that disavow is in Google Search Console.
That's interesting. I didn't. Yeah, yeah. So basically, you're indicating to Google like, I didn't pay for this. I don't know why it's here. Ignore it and only pay attention to the high quality backlinks.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess this is probably the reason why a lot of small business owners, especially if they run WordPress or something like that, some other content management system for for their website, probably get tons and tons of comment spam unless you've turned the comments off, like I usually do, um, on random like whatever blog posts with like, "Hey, this was great."
Yep.
Like it's super innocuous comments, and then like backlink to like something.ru or whatever. Like that's probably why that is happening, right?
Yep. Those are comment backlinks, which those used to work until 2011. So back until 2011, that's when everything
Hmm.
changed, where Google's like, no, no, no. It's not the number of backlinks, it's the number of quality backlinks because too many people were spamming the comments, but the comments are okay. Like if I'm commenting on a
Yeah.
SEO blog and I really leave a good informative comment, that's not bad. It's just a spammy one. So comments aren't really bad. I mean, if you have a bunch of backlinks from comments, that's pretty bad. But having a couple, it's not a bad thing. It's getting websites related to like pharmaceutical or pornography or anything that's not related to what you're doing. That's where those negative backlinks come into play, where people are just going on like weird, like foreign language sites and spamming you with Russian backlinks. And then Google's like, are you in Russia or where are you? So those are the type of sites that Google's really trying to thwart
Yeah.
off and stop that stuff from happening.
Cool. Cool. Uh, what advice would you actually give to an individual or a new business who want to market themselves online and grow their web presence?
Just be patient with it all. It takes time. A lot of people get frustrated when they don't see the results, and just got to be patient with digital or marketing in general. I mean, sometimes you go viral, but most of the time it takes time of building it up and growing it and growing it. So don't get discouraged if you don't see immediate results. A lot of people just think it's not working, but it takes time for all this stuff to happen. So just be patient with it all and keep working at it. And you'll see slowly over time your traffic will keep increasing and increasing, but it just takes time.
Okay, cool. And on the flip side, like what sort of challenge besides time and patience, what sort of challenges do you see companies or your clients face with SEO and digital marketing?
I'm just trying to figure out what Google wants because Google doesn't tell you what they were looking for. So trying to figure out how they rank websites. That's probably the biggest challenge. Just trying to see what
Right.
works, what doesn't work, because it's all about testing, trial and error, and just playing around with things and seeing what's worked in the past. Let's try going that way, but just making sure it's not spammy. It's not going to do anything that could potentially get triggered for spam or unethical black hat SEO, because that's the last thing we want to happen. Because if you do the wrong thing, instead of ranking higher, you actually drop down in rankings. So build a lot of websites, test a lot of things out on some test websites, never doing it for client websites. Want to test things out because if it goes wrong, that's going to really impact their rankings and traffic, and we don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So just trying to figure out Google is probably the biggest challenge.
Okay. And are there any like SEO growth hacking tips that you can share for free with anybody who's listening?
Build more backlinks, build more quality backlinks. The more backlinks you have, the better, especially from quality websites. The more relevant and authoritative the website is, the more trust that backlink is going to pass on, and the more SEO value you're going to be able to get from that, because backlinks are what ranks websites. Unfortunately, without backlinks, it's pretty much impossible to rank on Google. Their whole algorithm started based off backlinks. It's still heavily based off backlinks. It's changed a lot how they look at them over the years, but still heavily based off backlinks. So you got to make sure you have good quality backlinks. It's not really
Okay.
growth hacking because there is no growth hacking with SEO. It takes time. Any growth hacking is potentially going to get you penalized and hit with a penalty from Google for
Yep.
hacking and doing unethical, shady tricks because with SEO, there's no real shortcuts to game the system that are okay with Google. There's a lot of shortcuts, but once Google sees that you're doing them, they're gonna drop you down, penalize you, or potentially kick you off the rankings. Like you said, like earlier, the comments. I could build tons of backlinks through comments, and that will get me ranked pretty quickly on search results. But one of my
Sure.
competitors is going to see that, or Google's going to see that, and then just drop me down. But you'll get that short-lived traffic for maybe a couple days, a couple weeks, maybe a month. But after that, you're just gone permanently.
You talked about how, or you mentioned how it's really hard to figure out, exactly what Google wants. And I mean, like your industry has entire websites and blogs like focus on trying to figure this out. Like I know I've seen, you know, what's in the new Google Panda update or whatever it's called a few years ago, and trying to parse basically what what consists of quality at that point. Like how do you keep up on all that? Are you really reading like what is it uh I don't know, like instead of trying to remember the websites that I used to visit, like what do you read, or what sources do you get your information from on allegedly what's working now, and keeping up to date on what others are doing?
I just try to read up on different blogs, forums. Facebook groups are pretty good nowadays to get people engaging, reading or watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading books, but just trying to learn from as many different places as possible because you don't want to just go from one source because you never know what's real or what's accurate or what still works because you might read a blog post from last week and tells you the strategy and it might be outdated this week because Google is updating their algorithm every single day and digital marketing is constantly changing. So when I do read stuff or look up stuff, try to make sure it's somewhat new, maybe from a couple years ago at most, unless it's more evergreen content. But in general, just making sure that you try to find stuff that's more up to date, more newer kind of content. But just reading from as many different places like Google or Search Engine Table is a pretty good blog. Search Engine Journal, and there's a ton of them out there. But I would just search around and join some groups. Those are pretty helpful.
Cool. It sounds like trying to keep up with the cryptocurrency industry, moving just as quickly. Um, TikTok has kind of taken off with I think over 1 billion users now, thereabouts, and I know a lot of people or a lot of organizations who are trying to focus on putting out content there, and organizations I never thought would try to put out would try to put content on a platform like TikTok, whether it's TikTok or another platform. Like, what do you think is going to be the most significant, however you want to define that, significant social media platform or social networking platform over the next few years?
Yeah, that one is tricky. I would have to say Instagram is really dominates for now, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. But TikTok is pretty close on top of it, and but we'll see. Instagram is just going to keep copying TikTok and trying to do what they did to Snapchat to take them down. But who knows really what's going to happen in the future? It is tough because it changes so quickly, especially with social media. It's constantly changing with that one. It's too quick and easy to have a new platform emerge. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But TikTok, YouTube probably is going to be huge or keep on growing, I would say.
I still got big hopes for Diaspora. The one that got funded on Kickstarter like 10, 15 years ago. I gave them a little bit of money. I was hoping for big things. I think it was actually a little bit too soon. They were very Web3 ish, and so I think they could probably make a comeback now, but I'm pretty sure that all that money's gone.
Hopefully
That was
not,
going to be
but
a fun one. Oh well, you've built this organization, this company over the last, sounds like 15 years or so, since 2007, I think you said. Um, are you putting out more new services? Are you putting out your own tools? Like what can people expect to see from SEO optimizers throughout the rest of this year and into to 2023?
well, it's just helping people get more traffic to their websites, not building any tools or anything like that, but just using existing tools and tapping into what resources I have available. But just trying to just learn more about Google, try to stay up to date with what's happening with Google and their changes, and just keep on looking and staying on top of all that stuff.
Cool. Okay. And we're going to end off with a really easy question here. What do you think the future of the internet looks like, again, over the next few years? Like, is it a lot more siloed platforms like TikTok? Is it, I don't know, is it more decentralized services through, cryptocurrency and Web3 platforms? Like, do you have any thoughts there?
That one is a tough one, giving me all the tough questions. I don't know what's really going to happen with the future of websites, but as long as there's search engines, I know that SEO is still going to be around and I'll be okay with my job. But in terms of what's going to happen with the metaverse and all that stuff, who knows? That one is interesting to see what's going to happen in the future, if we're all going to be sucked in there. How are people going to be searching or doing things? So it's going to be interesting trying to stay up to date with all these changes. But for now, I would just say keep doing what you're doing, but just be on the lookout and be ready for changes because there is no constant. There's only change.
Okay. Which probably frightens some people, but hopefully excites others as well. Brandon, thanks a lot for your time. If people want to learn more about SEO optimizers or see what you have to say, where should they go online?
For everyone that wants to learn more, I create a special gift for them if they go to my website, seooptimizers.com. That's SEOoptimizers.com /gift. They can find that there along with my contact information. And I've put up a bunch of classes I've done over the years, all up there for free. So if they want to learn more about SEO or digital marketing, I have a ton of free resources. And if they also want a consultation, I'm happy to dive into their website and give them some feedback of what's working and what's not working. And they can book a time on my calendar there.
Cool, terrific. All right. Thanks again. Thanks for your time and for everybody listening or watching. Till next time, stay free.